The Italian GP concluded successfully last weekend, handing the 10th consecutive victory of the 2023 season to Max Verstappen. On their home circuit, Ferrari team gave a better fight to Red Bull drivers who are currently dominating the 2023 season. With the prevailed dry weather conditions at Monza, drivers were able to feel the taste of full throttle of their cars for more than 70 to 80% of the track length without a considerable issue. All the teams came with low downforce upgrades that suited the high-speed nature of Monza. Through this video, we are going to discuss how things unfolded at Monza during the 2023 Italian Grand Prix. But before we proceed, hit the subscribe button and smash the bell icon for more exciting updates. The race at Monza was held as the first race without any effects of rainy weather conditions since this year's Azerbaijan GP, so drivers and engineers were able to get the maximum use of the practice session to adjust their cars to a low downforce setup, which suits Monza with long straights and high-speed corners that demand lesser downforce. Ferrari showed a huge improvement since the first practice session, being a clear threat to the dominance of Red Bull. Williams also showed a significant improvement, but other leading teams like Mercedes, Aston Martin and McLaren didn't show enough pace demanded by the circuit. Verstappen easily led the way in FP1 and was closely followed by Sainz, who set the pace in FP2 and FP3. So the qualifying began with the expectations of closer battles between Red Bull and Ferrari for the pole position. Both the Aston Martin drivers became the victims of exceeding track limits in the first qualifying round. In their second attempts, Verstappen and Perez were able to top the timesheets at the end of Q1 ahead of two Ferraris. None of the other drivers were able to challenge the lap times set by Verstappen. Alpine driver Ocon experienced a journey through the gravel, damaging his floor which forced him to the pits, and he was knocked out at the end of Q1, alongside with Zhou, Gasly, Magnussen and Stroll. The second qualifying round unfolded normally without any drama inside the track. Two AlphaTauri drivers were lucky to advance into Q2 in their home race, but were not competitive enough to break into Q3. So Tsunoda and Lawson got knocked out at the end of Q2, alongside with Hülkenberg, Bottas and Sargent. Early drama happens at the beginning of Q3, when Verstappen dipped his two wheels on gravel at the exit of the Variante della Roja. With that advantage, Sainz topped the timesheets with 0.03 of a second in front of Leclerc, followed by Verstappen, Russell, Albon and Perez. Leclerc, Verstappen and Sainz were able to show improvements in their final attempts, but the pole was grabbed by Sainz, by beating the other two by a slim margin. On the preparation lap, Tsunoda had to park his Challenger by the side of the track due to an engine failure, and marshals took an extra 20 minutes to clear the track for racing. With that delay, the race length was reduced to 51 laps. Carlos Sainz started the race as the pole sitter, and it was essential for him to get a good start to the race, as former race winners like Verstappen, Leclerc and Perez were chasing behind him. When the 5 red lights of Monza went off, all the 19 cars in the starting grid started charging through the field. Sainz needed a good start to save his pole position advantage over Verstappen, and he did it as expected, not allowing the championship leader to seize the race lead at Monza. At the beginning, Russell appeared to be attacking the other Ferrari, but Leclerc defended it very well and was able to increase his gap with Russell, who was subjected to an attack from Perez, who was chasing behind. For around 14 laps, Carlos Sainz was able to defend the continuous attacks from Verstappen, who needed to get the race lead under his control. On lap 6, two race leaders nearly made contact as Sainz shut the door for Verstappen forcefully, who took a quick inside run to the first chicane. But on lap 15, Verstappen was able to finish his move to the race lead, thanks to the front wheel lockup experienced by Sainz at turn number 1. Then the Dutchman sealed his position when he reached the second chicane of the track, and quickly improved his gap with Sainz up to 2.5 seconds, thanks to clean air now ahead. At that moment, Albon was in 6th, and two McLarens of Piastri and Norris were in 7th and 8th positions respectively. Hamilton was running 9th, and his former McLaren teammate Alonso was occupying the 10th position, thanks to a Hülkenberg down the start-finish straight. 1 lap later, Albon decided to make his first pit stop, being the first one from the leading group to do so. Meanwhile, Perez successfully made his move against Russell on lap 16, but was unable to retain it again, as both drivers went off the road cutting the first chicane. So Perez immediately handed over the 4th position back to Russell. Within a brief time period after losing the race lead, Sainz was subjected to an attack from his teammates as well. The Spaniard was not in a position to defend this attack, as his medium tyres were not in a good condition to do so. Then he entered the pit lane immediately to switch to a fresher set of hard rubber on lap 20, with the aim of minimising the damage that he could experience with his old medium rubber. One lap later, both Verstappen and Leclerc were also called to pit for tyre changes. Within the next few laps, all the leading cars made their first pit stop, except Hamilton, who decided to start the race on hard compounds for a long run. Meanwhile, McLaren teammates made some contact with each other at the first chicane, just after coming out of the pit lane. Russell was awarded a 5-second penalty as he skipped the first chicane with the aim of securing his track positions from Esteban Ocon. Hamilton, who was running on old rubber, made little defense against Verstappen, who approached down the start-finish straight at the start of lap 25. Then, the three-car train of Sainz, Leclerc and Perez also easily passed the 7-time world champion without experiencing much defense from him. Finally, on lap 28, Hamilton decided to switch to his fresher set of medium rubbers and told his engineer over the radio that there's a long way to go on this damn tyre. Perez started battling with the two Ferraris, with the aim of stealing the second position from the Maranello-based team. The Mexican hunted down Leclerc after a brave and riskier move that dipped two of his wheels on grass at the second chicane. Then Sainz started to complain about his tyre conditions when he was under pressure from Perez, who was running third. Meanwhile, Russell was in a lone run in the 5th position, without having someone to attack or defend. But Albon, who was in the 6th position, constantly experienced heavy attacks from Norris, and the tyre driver used all of his skills to keep the McLaren behind him. On lap 41, Hamilton decided to attack Piastri, who was running in 7th, despite his tyres not being in a position to do so. However, they ended up making contact with each other, and both cars had to enter the runoff area to minimise the damage. The McLaren driver had to enter the pit lane once more to fix his new front wing, and he dropped out of the points as this incident cost him extra seconds. Hamilton was found guilty for making the contact, and he was awarded a 5-second penalty by the stewards. Anyhow, this contact between Piastri and Hamilton opened the opportunity for Sargent and Bottas to fight for the last point-offering positions. After attempting several times, Perez found a way to pass Sainz on lap 46, creating the opportunity for another Red Bull 1-2 finish. Then two Ferraris started battling for the last podium place and barely avoided contact at the second chicane. Regardless of his highly degraded medium rubber, Hamilton used all his skills and experience to pass Albon and Norris into the 6th position. The race lead was well under the control of Verstappen, and he crossed the finish line, scoring his record-breaking 10th consecutive victory of the season. Perez crossed the line as second, giving a hint to the Red Bull management that he is back on form. Leclerc was able to hunt down his teammate in the final lap of the race. Russell and Hamilton saw the checkered flag as P5 and P6. Lewis Hamilton had built a healthy lead against Albon, who was running in 7th, and he was able to save his 6th position in the final standings despite his time penalty. Meanwhile, Norris, Alonso and Bottas occupied the last point-offering positions in the standings. Piastri, who was in a recovery drive after making contact with Hamilton, had to face a tight battle from Lawson. However, Piastri was awarded a 5-second penalty for leaving the track to gain an advantage, creating the opportunity for Lawson to clinch P11 easily. Sargent, who attempted for a point finish at the early stages of the race, had to be satisfied with a P13 finish. Zhou, Gasly and Stroll were the final drivers to finish on the lead lap. This race also finally turned into another poor run for the Haas duo, as their tyre degradation was extremely high, pushing them for a 2-stop strategy that cost them track positions. Ocon wasn't able to complete the race again, as he experienced a technical issue in his Alpine. That's how the race in high-speed Monza unfolded, delivering some thrilling moments to fans all over the race. Finally, Verstappen was able to end the Monza curse, which didn't allow any of the race winners since 2019 to complete the race in the following year. So he reached the 10th consecutive race victory of the 2023 season, breaking Sebastian Vettel's record for the most number of consecutive wins in a Formula One season. Formula One will now move out of Europe for the next race in Singapore, scheduled to be held on the 17th of September, and we can hope for a different level of racing there, with its narrow streets and tight corners which deliver another level of challenging conditions to the drivers. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel to get more exciting Formula 1 news. See you in the next video, guys. Goodbye.